Right, so just wanted to post an update today to show you exactly how this lawn is getting on about 3 or 4 weeks now after its renovation. So on a day like today, when the sun is out, it's looking really nice at the moment. Even around this part here, you can see it's mostly dominated by grass, but we do still have the odd weed knocking about, and we're going to deal with some of these today. We're going to start off by getting on with the lawnmower and giving this a quick cut. Now, I have mentioned it in a few videos already recently that now that it's autumn, you do sort of need to make sure you are cutting your lawn on a little bit of a higher setting to what you will have done sort of in the spring and the summer. And the reason for this is that obviously the temperatures aren't as warm anymore, we're getting less sunlight every day, which does mean naturally that your lawn is going to thicken out over time. But if you cut your lawn on a higher setting, then provides, you know, more protection to the plants that are already there, and it's less likely that weeds are going to come through during the winter months. Now, inevitably, we are going to have weeds coming through regardless of how long you cut your lawn, but if you just raise that height of cut of one setting on your lawnmower, you'll be fine. So I'm going on the third highest setting with this hater, which is around about 30-40 mil. Now, considering it's late October, it's almost November at time of recording, I think this lawn looks pretty decent for this time of year. And the main reason for that is that it's been scarified recently, it's had an application of autumn winter fertiliser, and it's also had some liquid iron down on it too. You can just see on a lovely day like today when the sun's out, it looks absolutely amazing. And even from this side as well, you can see the stripes looking really, really nice. Do be quite careful when you are cutting your lawn at this time of year though, because you can see some of these spaces like here and here where I actually turn the lawnmower around, the rear roller has dug into the soil slightly, and that's just because the soil is quite moist at the moment with the amount of rain we're having, and because it's not super hot, you know, the water isn't evaporating from the soil or the grass leaves as quick anymore, so a lot of that moisture is being retained in the soil, which does mean that you can damage your lawn if you're not careful. I'm going to be using a normal kitchen fork today to pull out any weeds that we do have in the lawn, because we have some young dandelion weeds knocking about, which if we do leave them will eventually, you know, mature, they'll flower and then spread the seeds, but that'll be more so next year. It's not really going to happen at this time of year now. Someone commented recently and said that I should really be pulling the weeds out before I actually cut the lawn. However, I do prefer to cut the lawn, particularly at this time of year, and the reason for that is because, like I've just said, the soil is quite moist and the grass is quite moist. If I do walk all over the lawn before I cut it and the grass and the soil is quite moist, what I can do is end up flattening a lot of those grass blades, and that can mean then when I get on with the lawnmower and cut the rest of the lawn, it might leave some of the lawn lying flat, and eventually once it stands up, we're going to have patches of the lawn that are a little bit longer than others, and that's just because the grass blades are particularly wet during this time of year, even if the sun's out, just because it's not warm enough to evaporate all the water that's in the soil layer and on the plants themselves. So they're a little bit heavier and they're not just going to spring back as easily. So it's not ideal to cut it first, because I know we can cut some of the grass, it can actually take off a lot of that weed plant, but because I'm cutting on a little bit of a higher setting, it's not too much of an issue. So all I'm doing is getting to the base of the root. I'm just going to prise it out ever so slightly. Ideally, I want to do this quite delicately, because I don't want to rip out the I don't want to leave any of the weed plant in the soil if I can help it. See, that one's just snapped slightly, but I can see the root still of the plant. Now, unfortunately, I have broken that one ever so slightly again. Not the worst thing in the world. Okay, it is quite deep. Now, it is one of those weeds that has survived. There we go. Hold it. It's one of those weeds that survived from the weed killer treatments, and I will leave a link somewhere on screen now to the video where I actually applied weed oil to this lawn. But you can see I just pulled out the actual root of the plant. There's two little roots there which connect together, and you know it's the entire root because there's no little white tips on the end. Often if you pull the root out and it looks quite thin at the end, but there's a little white tip on there, it means you've snapped the root, and that eventually means that it might come back. Now what I would do if it was the summer or the spring is I'd overseed this patch. However, I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to press the soil back together around where that weed plant was. Lovely stuff. Let's get around to the other side. Just plant any of the other weeds in the lawn. There we go, got another one here. I'm not sure if it's dandelion specifically. It's got the dandelion type leaves, but it looks like there's too many for it to be a dandelion plant unless it's actually two plants. Let's just dig deep and see what we can prise up out of the ground. There's quite a lot of roots here. Okay, there's quite a lot of the plants actually come off. Don't want to take too much of the soil out because I want to replace as much of that soil as I can, because like I said, I'm not overseeding it, so I don't want to leave big holes in the ground. Get as deep as I possibly can with the fork. So some of the roots will snap because the soil is quite moist with all the rain we've had over the past few weeks. It means that we can pry as much of it out as possible. There we go, look at that. There's a bit of white there at the plant, but you can see that root is one that has gone quite deep into the ground that we've removed. And again, some more of the roots, quite a bit of it here. There we go, that one. There's no white tip on the end of that, so that's the end of part of the plant. But I can see another one further down. I'll tell you what, there's a massive rock here. Jeez, stuff you find under your lawn. Size of this. Look at the size of that. That's a rock that's come off the ground. And it's not even a rock actually, it's a part of a paving slabs. There you go. Get yourself a new build. The developers are going to chuck any old rubbish under your lawn, and that's not too far. That was maybe about 3 inches under the soil, which is mental. Shows you how much work they put in to actually giving you a half decent lawn, doesn't it? I've just snapped it slightly. That is a deep root. Well, I've got most of the weed plants anyway. Get rid of any bits of soil that have the roots in, and the rest of them I can replace down into that space there. Now there's going to be a big chasm from where that big massive piece of stone came out of. Again, another piece, lovely stuff. Pad it back down like that. Jobs are good and weeds removed for now. That one may come back because there is a bit of root still left under the ground, but we're not going to stress about it today. It can be a job for spring. There's another one here. This is a dandelion plant. You can use a weed pulling tool for this. The reason I don't want to do that at the moment is because it is going to pull out too much soil. Like I said, I'm not overseeding this space. There we go, look at them. Okay, some ends of the roots there you've managed to pull out. Just check there's nothing else in that hole. It's part of it here. There we go. Another little bit of root. And that is as much as I can feel. So there we go, removed. All we've got to do, like we've just done, pad it back down. Lovely stuff. That bounced back okay. Now I didn't show you before when I actually first finished cutting the grass. But if you have a look in here now, there's quite a bit of grass in there, but I'd say it's maybe a third full of this collection box, so that's a week's worth of growth, whereas if you went back to almost spring and summertime, that would have been the same amount that would have come off the lawn after maybe about 2 days. Now this lawn at the back isn't in as good of a condition as the lawn is at the front, and the main reason for that is that this lawn isn't really getting a lot of sun at the moment. So the one at the front is, you know, has sunlight from probably maybe 10 o'clock in the morning till around about 6, half 6 at night when it starts to eventually go dark. So it does get a lot of the sun, which then means, you know, the grass is going to get thicker, it's going to be healthier. However, this grass at the moment, the stuff on the far side gets most of the sun, but a lot of this now in front of me doesn't get a lot of sun at all. And what has started to happen to the lawn is it started to go a little bit yellow. There's a little bit of dead grass in there. It started to thin out, and that's just because there's less food for the grass blades, because obviously it's not in the sun as much, and it's been over a month now since I actually fertilised this lawn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on, I'm going to give it a cut. I'm going to bring the height of the cut up to the third highest setting again on the hater, because I was cutting this on the second sort of lowest setting, So I'm just going to raise that cut ever so slightly now that it's, you know, getting further into autumn, getting closer and closer again to the winter. And then I'm going to get on with some autumn winter fertilizer, which is going to be sort of the boost this grass needs to sort of bounce back. And you'll hopefully be able to see in next week's video that this grass is in a much better state because it's been given that feed, and then it's been able to thicken up and green up a little bit better than what it is now. So we've got the autumn winter fertilizer, and this contains 10% potassium. And the reason why autumn winter fertilizers contain more potassium is because it enables the plant to actually develop and retain more of the chlorophyll that it contains, and that's actually responsible for the green of the plant. So actually, by having more potassium in this, it's going to result in a greener lawn throughout all of autumn and also the winter too. There we go. I'll give you an update in about a week or two just to show you how this lawn's getting on. But hopefully now that it's been fertilised, it'll have a nice green up over the next couple of weeks, despite the fact that it doesn't get a lot of sun. So there we go. That's all I'm doing to the lawns today, keeping it nice and simple over the next few months until we get to the new lawn care season, sort of late Feb, early March next year. And if you'd like to check out any of these other videos, or if you'd like to check out any of my garden renovation, then you can head over to my channel. And if you like what you see and you'd like to follow along with these sorts of videos next year as well, where we're going to have projects as to how we're going to develop this space of the garden. I still want the garage door. That's a project that I've wanted to do for a long time. And also all of the lawn tip videos that I'm going to continue to upload. Then check those videos out, and if you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. And finally, thanks for watching.